All right. Good morning and welcome to the Rebirth Experience with Coach K and Charlena Anita. It
Good
is a
morning.
rainy Sunday in Georgia. How is it down there in Florida?
It is a beautiful, sunny Sunday morning.
Every day is
Beautiful.
sunny in Florida.
It's beautiful.
Well, I'm actually looking forward to this rainy day, and let me just say, we're going to do our usual stuff. But I put a topic out there. I'm not guaranteeing we're going to keep talking about that. I don't know what we're going to talk about today. We're going to talk about dating and, kind of creating a new life after breakup. But also, I just want to share that I have learned to embrace every mood. I'm not in the best mood today, and the old me would have sent Charlene a text and canceled. But the new me said, bring and show every side. And I don't have a story around why I'm feeling. I have had some triggers. Let me be honest. I have had some triggers. One of which we're going to talk about with the dating thing. Um, I don't know. I don't want to go down a rabbit hole with all my feelings, but what I want to say is that it's okay to feel your feelings sometimes. The most important thing is to stay in control of it and move through it. And
Mhm.
I'm not going to wake up Monday and Tuesday and I'm still like, oh, let yourself feel what you feel. Look at, like my best friend says, approach it with curiosity. What is this feeling? I've actually had to
Mhm.
do that before.
I do
I
that.
felt a
I do
mood,
that.
some
I do.
kind of mood or shift,
Mhm.
and in the past, especially in my 40s, oh, I would just give into it completely. I'd be down all day, maybe even all week, and buried under some ice cream or something. But now, although I did have some yesterday after my son, he sent me straight into emotional eating. I don't, it's not even worth talking about, but that's one of the reasons why I couldn't talk to you. Just was another day with dealing with a 14-year-old who feels
Mhm.
like he should be on his own. But so I did give in to the to the ice cream yesterday. But in general, now when I feel like melancholy, that's the word I like to use, I just
Mhm.
sit with it because everything is useful. If you think about it, and I don't know if you're going to have a different name than I would, but some of the best music has come from people's tough times. Like
Mhm.
when I'm down, maybe I can be creative in a totally different way. Maybe suddenly I have empathy for someone or a situation that I don't have when I'm full of joy and happy or whatever. So, what do you do when your mood when
So
you
I do what you said. I try to understand it. I don't necessarily try to change it. I try to ask questions as to, okay, what is it that I'm feeling? Where is this coming from? And then, as I said, I don't really try to change it, but sometimes you just wake up in a funk. Okay, it's just what it is. You wake up and you may feel a little off. And if I'm feeling that way, I try to take advantage, or I should say take control of it. I try not to let it control me. And that's something that you just said. I realize, okay, this is how I'm feeling, and how do I need to mitigate the damages here. Don't let this mood cause some other issue that, as a result of me being in this mood, now I've got to deal with this because this is the way I responded
Oh,
to being in this mood. So I really try to be mindful. All right, this is how I'm feeling, and I try not to let it impact other things that will. But because generally, if it's not something, if it's just I woke up in a funk today, I woke up, just they say on the wrong side of the bed. If it's just that one of those isolated situations, it's going to be gone in the next day. It'll be gone by tomorrow. But if you let it take control of you, then now you have you are at risk of having another problem or creating a problem that now you've got to deal with after the funk is gone. So I think recognizing, okay, you know what? I'm in a funk today. Okay, I'm going to take control of this. I'm not going to let this get control of me. And I'm just going to deal with it throughout the day because it's not going to be like this tomorrow. So that's generally how I handle it. And I realize that
yeah.
many a days I'll wake up and just be in this, ugh, like, ugh. But you have to learn how to, to deal with it, I think. So,
Yeah, that's so true. I'm
yeah.
gonna try to put these in, but I can't find the button on the computer today for some reason. It's not the day for that. I agree with you 100%. And I do think the most important thing is to maybe acknowledge the feeling. Sometimes it's tied to something specific that happened.
Hmm.
We're talking about more so something just random that feels more
Hmm.
random. But I
Yeah.
will say that if it continues for me, sometimes I realize, oh, what was I watching last night? Like if I'm not
Mm.
feeling good about my love life and I watched a love show and then I went to sleep on that, I might wake up the next day feeling a little down, or it's not going to happen for me. Or just if I watch something scary, for example, and I don't mean scary. These days, scary looks very different. I don't mean scary like a horror movie. I mean like the news. No,
I,
no. I mean,
I'm filtering my stuff,
you
girl.
know what I mean? I mean,
Woo!
like it
You
could be,
better know your tolerance
yeah,
level.
it could
No
be some
mine.
sort of end of days movie, right? And then you wake up with all this anxiety about the day. Like check yourself on what you watched, and that you may need to pivot and watch something joyful. You know, the other day I watched three back-to-back episodes of Days of Our Lives. And I used to watch that show in my
Wow.
childhood. I saw it on Peacock, and it's recent. It wasn't the old episodes, but
Okay.
I saw, wow, Marlena is still alive. First of all, she died like
Girl.
6 times on the show. And secondly, now her grandson is married and having an affair where he thinks his wife is having an affair. I just got all caught up in it. And sometimes these old shows can really, if your child, especially if your childhood was decent, it can really make you feel good all over again. Now I see why people watch some of this old TV, because I'm not a big reruns person, but
I watch old TV.
I
I
enjoy
can't even,
it.
I made it through, this is actually before I got married, but I think I went through 3 seasons of Family Affair with Buffy, Jody, and Sissy. Do you even know that show?
No,
You
Shirley,
may be, yeah, you may be
when
a
you
little
show
too young.
your age, yeah, you
Yeah,
do
you may
every
be a
now
little
and
too
then.
young for that. But
We look the same age, folks, but we're not.
yeah, I've done that. And it does. It takes you back to your, nostalgic childhood. But I did want to bring up one other thing too about moods, and this is from a female perspective. Sometimes our moods are hormonal,
Hmm.
you know, and I think that as a woman, we have a responsibility to be able to identify that really, our hormones can be out of whack, and I don't want to say out of whack, but they're causing us to have or be in a certain emotional space.
Yeah,
And I think that it's important for us to be able to realize that, and also, again, to take control. Uh, so I've always been an advocate of, like when my daughter, when she was, going through puberty and she would get emotional, and I would tell her, I said, babe, as a woman, your body is changing, and so you have a right to feel what you're feeling. Never going to say don't feel that way, because it's how you feel. But what I am going to say is you don't have a right to make their life miserable because you feel a certain way. So it
yeah,
doesn't give you license to just, well, this is how I feel. And it doesn't give you license to that. You still can feel it, but you have to be able to manage it. And so I think for us as women, when, and whether it's a mood because you woke up in a funk today, or whether it's my hormones are causing me to feel this way, at the end of the day, we still have a responsibility to manage what we are feeling and how that presents in the world to others.
that is good. Okay, I'm gonna do my. I don't have anything fancy. Once again,
Oh, I forgot my water.
I have my mug, which I'm gonna talk
Mhm.
about this today.
Single and loving it.
Yeah. I do choose this mug on purpose some days. Well, anytime I use it, I choose it on purpose. And I just have my regular coffee, but I did add an extra espresso pod. So let's see where I'm at by the end of this episode. But I It's rainy and I don't want to sleep all day. I have some things that I urgently need to get done. You're doing all this home organization. You're doing wonderful. And I am operating in ADHD. Like I'm like 70% done in some rooms, 20, whatever. And I don't want to talk about this long, but I had this terrible pantry moth situation. I shouldn't say terrible. Let me not, because it wasn't that bad. That I've been dealing with for weeks. Okay. I bleached my cabinets out twice and they were still there. And then I found them going into the crown molding above the fireplace in my kitchen. Yes, I'm blessed to have a fireplace in the kitchen. I appreciate that. But when I saw it go up into the ceiling, I almost sat down and cried because I was
Mhm.
like, how am I going to solve that? So I don't know that this is not what this is not what this show needs to be about, but there are certain things that happen that trigger my singleness. And that was an example. Having been partnered for so long, and even though I didn't have there were a lot of issues, there were certain things I could count on the partner doing. And
Mhm.
sometimes things happen, and I'm like, oh shit, I'm on my own,
Mhm.
and
Mhm.
that it could be something as simple as that. So maybe
Mhm.
that will speak to
Mhm.
someone as we talk about dating and creating a life after a transition. Because there are moments that occur where you're like, oh,
I think that's me.
I have to solve this problem, and it has taken the entire 2+ years for me to finally get off my ass. I'm going to be cursing a lot today, everyone. So I want to let you know that I don't apologize for that. I'm turning 52 this summer, and I've given myself permission. So anyway, there are times things that happen where I'm like, this is on me, and I've just come to a place where I've said, I'm good with that. That's just, and I give thanks that I immediately pivoted. Went on Reddit. I talked to a couple friends. I went to Lowe's and got me like a fancy crevice squirter thing and pushed it up in there, because what I was doing before, if I wasn't telling my sweetheart, I would call my handyman. He's expensive. And after the last time I dropped 200 and something dollars with him, I said, Cara, you're going to go and get a basic toolkit. There was a resistance in me
Yes, you need to have every single woman needs a toolkit.
I know. But the thing is, Charlene, when I was single before, when we divorced the first time, I jumped right into all of that. But I got very dependent on that in this the marriage I was in, and I had shut that whole side of my brain off. And I really didn't want to
Okay.
return back to doing a
Okay. I
DIY.
see
I'm every
that.
woman. That's not what I wanted.
I
So I
see.
had to work through that in my mind and say, it's on you. You're going to fix it. And look at what you get in exchange for that total peace of mind. Like I just started looking at the benefits of owning it and doing it myself. And I have to tell you, I don't remember if you ever saw my shed. I know it's over there in the yard, but did I ever walk you over there to the shed area?
Mhm.
So I haven't spent a lot of time in there at all, right? That space belonged to the ex-husband, even though he didn't live here very long. And so as a part of dealing with these moths, no, that was I did a little spray paint project for my son. I'm not going to take you down that road, but I ended up in the shed for that reason. And I just stood there for a second and said, this is a great little space and it's mine.
It
It's like,
is.
even though he wasn't here anymore, to me, it was a man space. It was a man thing. So I've done nothing in there. Even the stuff that there's a loft area. I haven't
Girl.
even been up there because
Mm, mm,
the sweetheart was the only one who went up there. He was tall enough to get everything down or whatever. And I said, this is the year. I'm going to pull all this together. I'm going to make it pretty. If something needs to be painted, I'm going to do it myself. I have
mhm,
slow time at work. I'm just going to own my life more than ever this year.
mhm.
And so long-winded intro.
So I'm laughing because I was in that space. Hi, Joanne. I was in that space. I mean, I was married for 18 years and I was single for, say, 15 years. And anyway, the number doesn't matter. But especially so, right after I got divorced, there was the realization that you don't have somebody that you can just call. Like this is it's all on you now. And it took a while to get in that space. Once I bought my house, me, everything that I did, because I renovated it, it was all on me. So I was in that space, and I think I think it's a beautiful space to be in. I really do. And this is the interesting thing, as a single woman, I think being a single woman, there are certain skill sets that you develop and a certain level of self-sufficiency that you develop that women who have been continuously married for a long time don't, you know? And so I think it's a beautiful skill set to have, to be able to do the things that you need to do, to be able to do them independently, to be able to, you have a toolbox, you know how to use the tools, you know how to manage affairs when it comes to like home maintenance or just whatever. It's a beautiful skill set to have. I so I would applaud any woman and say yes. If you are a single woman, embrace that, embrace the opportunity for growth, to grow in knowledge of being able to function in various areas of need in your life. So whether it's home maintenance, whether it's financial things, whatever it is, that allows you, that the responsibilities of life, and they come knocking at your door, you have to come and answer. Give yourself the opportunity to learn those skills. I
Mm.
think it's a beautiful thing. Uh, it's interesting that you should say that, because I'm in a different place, obviously, in my life. I'm married. I'm married to a man who can do anything and can do many things that are considered considered female or woman role in the house. He can
He's
do it
a
just
jack
as
of all
good.
trades.
He can do it just as good, or many times better than I can. And the interesting thing about that, though, and while it's a gift and blessing and I'm grateful for it, I feel like I am moving back into the space of, I'm going to use this word, helplessness.
Mm.
Like, because I don't have to do certain things,
I
I'm
would
not.
have said dependency, but that doesn't sound any better.
Yeah, and I'm so it is a blessing to have that person, but, and I don't want to sound morbid, but I have given thought to, okay, what if he suddenly passed away? How easily would it be for me to transition or to pivot back into doing things on my own? And
You would
so,
figure it out. It's muscle memory.
yeah, and I would. It's just really strange not being in the space of having to do or doing so many things that are required. So,
Hmm.
so I think, that, I mean, that's, it's just it's a fine line. So again, I do want to encourage any woman that's out there, definitely, learn the skills, be able to be self-sufficient. If you're a single woman, be able to be self-sufficient, embrace that. It is a gift, it is a power. And I also think, if partnership does present itself to you, I believe that it makes you even more attractive to a worthy suitor.
I
Because,
feel like I'll fall back into it immediately. Oh,
no,
you're
so no, no. What I'm saying is, well, let me explain what
yeah.
I mean when I say it makes you even more attractive. One of the things that my husband shared about me that drew him to me, or that he was very attracted to, was my independence, knowing that I can handle things, I can do things. And I think what it does is it takes a burden, it takes the whole burden off of your partner when he knows that he has a woman who, if for whatever reason, if he got sick or anything happened and he could not function to the degree that he had been, that things aren't just going to fall apart. And I think they get a level of peace from that. And so I think it is a beautiful thing, a beautiful skill set to have, to be able to do things independently and function on your own. And as they say, manage your own shit. I think that it's a very powerful thing to have, a very powerful skill set to have. Because I think you come into, when and if that is for you, a relationship, you come in as an equal and as a whole entity. You're a whole entity that's able to take care of yourself and manage your affairs. And so if you partner with someone, you both come in as wholes, and you don't come in from a deficient, needy space.
No, I agree. I think also you're also being yourself. Um, so I will say that I think that just kind of to jump right into the topic, I didn't intend to date so quickly after divorce. I don't like this line, but it really applies. It just happened. It just happened. And I found I don't have any regrets around it. I just have reflections. Um, I would say that I do find that I was it was great to have all of these needs instantly met that had been neglected for so long. But I think that I just fell completely into dependency because I hadn't been cared for in those ways for so long. And I was craving leadership hard. And I wanted to see, am I the type of woman who can submit? Am I this difficult black woman who doesn't? Because that's what I've been told, that I've been accused of emasculating someone, or that I don't know how to, follow. And I now know that the men who say that, they're not leaders. And so it's really a form of gaslighting, because when a man is a true leader, he doesn't have any of these problems that these other men talk about. Like, he can't relate to anything that they're saying at all. And I remember I asked my guy, do you think a man can be emasculated? And he was like, no, it didn't compute to him. Now, it also doesn't compute because they're not like that, so they don't understand. And I don't want to go down this road, maybe never, but I do feel like there are more mild mannered guys who are good guys, and they don't have this dominant alpha personality, and that's okay. And it may be that I think that they can have a partner who balances that more, but there still just needs to be mutual respect, which is something I didn't have in my marriage. I grew up with a very strong, dominant father. And so to me, that was always manhood. And that was always the measuring stick. And he knew he wasn't like that. And so, I don't think it was fair for me to expect him to be that way. But it also was the only thing that I at the time knew how to respect. I think that had value been shown in other areas that I felt mattered, maybe I would have been able to um, get past it. But basically, dating someone total opposite showed me a lot about myself. It gave me an opportunity to uncover things that I needed to work on that I didn't know were an issue, because the marriage just was such a huge toxic soup. It was hard for me to figure things out. But in a new encounter, I was like, oh wow, I don't communicate that well. Oh wow, I don't know how to advocate for myself. Oh wow, my self-worth is a lot lower than I thought. Like, I just learned a lot about myself. And you know what, Charlena, the biggest thing I learned, and I have another note here, something that I might go into, but the biggest thing I learned is that I did not realize how much I saw myself as the problem. So when you don't know what your stuff is, ladies, other people can sense it and prey upon it because you don't have an awareness of it yourself. What I mean by that is, I didn't know my worth was low. I didn't know that I was used to being told, you're the problem, you're too difficult, you want too much. And so because I wasn't attached to the awareness of that, I never wanted to ask for what I truly wanted, because I didn't want to seem like I was too much. Let me not be a bother. I don't want to look high maintenance. I don't want to look like I'm too particular, because I won't be chosen, or whatever. And so we would be in the store, and he'd say, the sweetheart, do you want anything? While we're in here, do you want anything? And he's asking a serious question. I would say, oh, no, no, no. Listen, there's so many little things I never told you. Do you know that this happened once? We were in a Walmart. Do you want anything? No, no, no. After he dropped me off, or I dropped off, whatever it was, I went back to the same store and got what I needed. I will never do that again. I,
Wow. Did
You,
you, okay, so did you explore that? Because you know that's crazy, right?
I know I feel like crying, but I'm not going. I'm already feeling weepy.
Okay.
Um, that's what it's tied to. I
Okay.
don't
Okay.
want to look like I'm too much, but I did not realize that even though I told myself right after the divorce I'll never be on sale again, that was me putting myself on sale. Not
Okay.
wanting, I don't want to look like I'm too much. He's got a lot going on. Just me. I've been accused. I spent my entire marriage and most of my adulthood being accused of being selfish. That
Mm-hmm.
I'm this really selfish person. And which is not true, but I believed it. See, when somebody tells you something about yourself and then you believe, you make an agreement at times and say, "Oh, I'm," and now you take that label on. And
Mm-hmm.
so I felt I put other people before myself, particularly in a romantic relationship. He's got a lot going on. There's other things he's taking care of. I don't want to add to the list, so I'm not going to ask for what I really want in this moment. Or things like if he's cooking, I would never say, I don't have a taste for that. I want to eat this instead.
Mm-hmm.
And then here's the other part of this, Charlene. I would look at my friends, you and most of my friends, and think they're too particular. Or like I would be, and I haven't done this so much with you, but I would be irritated at that they advocated for themselves so strong. And what was happening is I was really jealous because I was not able to advocate for myself. I could not find my voice. And there was another voice in my head that kept saying, just be grateful, Cara. Be
Mm-hmm.
grateful for X, Y, and Z because it's still so much better than where you were. But here's the problem: when you do that, not only are you not being honest with yourself, you're not giving the other person an opportunity to see who you really are. And then years into the relationship, he's going to realize she never liked shrimp. She never really wanted, she does want that. It's not fair to them. They can't make a,
Mm-hmm.
a judgment call about whether or not
Who
they
you
really
are,
want to be with
right?
you because
Right.
you're not showing who you really, you're afraid to bring that out. It's like,
Mm-hmm.
and this has happened to me across my whole life, even at work. I felt like I needed someone to give me permission before I would speak on things. And I've made a shift this year, like dramatically.
I was
At
about to
work,
ask you.
I don't ask people to do things anymore. I tell them, please send that over. Please do this. Please do
Mm-hmm.
that. Thank you. Not, do you feel like this? Do you feel like that? I've just been working hard
Mm-hmm.
on using my voice and being willing to take a bullet if I've done it the wrong way. This is what
Mm-hmm.
we need to do. And I've been angry at a coworker who's 15 years younger than me because she just balls out on the call and bitches at people and it gets things done. And
Mm-hmm.
I was angry at her, feeling like she's getting some special privileges. I don't think she is. I think she just shows up like that and
Mm-hmm.
people run around in it. And I, scared to use my voice, am mad that I'm not getting the kudos or the permission for certain things. And so I
So
don't
I
have,
think
yeah, well
I think
organized, but
what you're sharing is just it's an example of so you know we were talking about singlehood and really dating, you know, afterwards and all of that. And I think it's just what you're sharing is an example of the individual work that we need to do. So whether you're coming out of a dating relationship and there's a breakup there, or whether it's a divorce, there's just a lot of individual work that needs to be done. On so many spectrums, right? And what happens so often is when we do that work, we're well, when we do work, our tendency is to want to focus on the other person and who they weren't and what they did or what they didn't do versus really looking at ourselves and seeing um, how did we contribute to the end of or the demise of the relationship, and you know what are our deficiencies, what are our areas of growth, what can I do, how can I grow, how can I learn to be in a better position in the future. And I think that it's just important to do the self work, Mary.
yeah. And That's why I wrote, look at yourself with curiosity, not shame, not judgment. Just look at yourself
Mhm.
and your behaviors. And I have been not down a rabbit hole at all, but some of the things with my son yesterday were very triggering and had me thinking about my choices in dating and just falling into some regret. And sometimes the regret can make it hard to keep hope alive that you'll do it different, and that's the top reason why I'm spending this year single. um it's becoming like the best decision that I ever made, and I have not been single a lot in my life at all. Like, I had my first boyfriend when I was 16 for like 2 weeks. Then I had a boyfriend in college when I was 19, for 2 years. And then when I transferred schools, in my junior year, I was like, I'm going to be single this year. 3 months later, I was in a relationship. Then we had a child together. That was 4 years. Probably the longest period of true singleness I had after that was when I moved to Virginia. But even then, not really. I was still seeing people off and on. And then I got in the relationship with the ex husband. During the 3 years we were divorced, I was somewhat single, but this is the first year I'm just intentionally single,
Mhm.
ending the relationship that I was in at the end of last year, parting with love. We talk every day, and it's been very, is redemptive a word? I think so. It's been very redeeming. I'll say it that way, to have had a coupling with someone where there was no trauma, and
Mhm.
I don't need to go to therapy to recover from something terrible that he did to me or that I did to him. We respect each other tremendously.
Mhm.
We
Mhm.
love each other. We just don't
Got
want
it.
the same. We're not going in the same direction.
Mhm.
And having this time away from him, I'm realizing, wow, there's a lot of things that I really want to do with my life that would not have worked in that situation. And I would have been, knowing myself, I would have been compromising on the
And
things
good.
that
Let's excellent. So yes, you've brought it back full circle. How to create your life after a breakup. So we talked about, obviously there's work that needs to be done. I think that after a breakup, I think it's important to do a debriefing. you know, I think it's important to evaluate, okay, so what led to the demise? What was my part in the demise? But then what were the positive things about this relationship? Why did I choose this relationship? How did I grow in this relationship? What's the lesson to be learned from this relationship? Every single relationship that you are in, there is something that you can learn from it. There's whether it's I'm not going to do this again, or wow, I became this person in that relationship, or I learned this in the relationship. You can always look back and gain some knowledge as to what it was that this relationship did for you. Because every relationship does something. It gives you something, whether that's something that's desirable or not. There's a reason why you chose to be in it. And so I really think that is work that really should be a priority, because I think when you do that, excuse me, when you do that kind of work, you can, I don't want to say heal, but you can be in a place of resolve with it. You can truly let it go, and you can really start to be open to moving forward and embracing something else that might be for you, but might be for you, I should say. Um, so I really think that that's important to do that work. That should be some of the initial work that you do after the relationship, because I think a lot of healing takes place
Mm-hmm.
in that framework of that kind of work. I think, and once you transition out of that, then I think that's when you start to, and it can be done simultaneously, but I think primarily, initially, you first need to do the introspective work of the relationship, the diagnosing and the evaluation of the relationship. And as you are moving out of that state is, I think, when you start to look at, okay, how do I redefine myself or find myself? Who am I as a single person? And I think, to me, I think that's a lot harder for married. I think it's a lot harder for a person going through a divorce than someone that's going through a breakup. Because when you're single, excuse me, when you're dating someone and you go through a breakup, generally your life isn't totally enmeshed in that person. Your whole world is not totally enmeshed in that person. Every aspect of yourself is not enmeshed in that relationship. And so it's a little easier to kind of come back to yourself. But when it's a divorce, that marriage defined everything about you. um, you as a woman or a man, you as a parent, your social
Yeah.
circle, your friends, couple friends that you have, all of that, everything you did together for years and years and years was with this person. And so it's a lot more difficult to reestablish who you are once you go through a divorce.
So, and that's not to diminish someone who's been in a serious dating relationship, but because I think there are some like long-term partnerships that could, of the ending of it could feel like a divorce. Again,
Mhm.
depending on how enmeshed your lives were. Um, it's just that divorce can be next level, and also the amount of time that you were married. Because when we divorced the first time, we'd only been married for 4 years, and I really didn't feel any. It was 7 years total. I just didn't feel any. It wasn't anything like this. But
Mhm.
this time, after 20 plus years, you're very used to that person being around. It is much more like a death.
Mhm.
And
It is.
it's not just the death of the relationship and the singleness, it's the entire family, it's the dreams. Even when I say to my son things like, our family, I don't even know what I'm talking about anymore. It's like hard for me to still to like
Mhm.
put that all together. um, and so there are a lot of transitions that occur, and I think when you add on top of that, us not being amicable means there's no conversations, there's no communication happening at all. So it's not like you can create some peaceful moments for your kid. It's just very different. It's very different and weird. And so I don't really spend a lot of time in regret anymore, thank God. But I did have some feelings of just regretting my choices, because, and this is something I really have to get over this, like within 24 hours. I look at people who chose differently, even if the relationship didn't work out because of the type of partner they had. Their children are better for it. My children are worse off, and I wouldn't say I have guilt about it. You know what it is? When I was on my nature hike yesterday, I just came to peace with, it's going to be what it's going to be. I can't unring the bell and go back and choose differently. The choices that I've made to date in partners, including the last dating relationship I was in, were all a reflection of where I was at the time and what I thought I was worth. And that's why I'm by myself right now. Because until I fully establish within myself what I am worth, and I can stand on it and be willing to let the most gorgeous, perfect man walk away from the table and leave
Mhm.
me in the restaurant alone. I'm not ready to be out there
Mhm.
again in any capacity. But they were all a reflection of where I was and what I thought I
Mhm.
deserved
Mhm.
at that time. And I don't want to go any deeper on that because it's not my, I don't want it to sound like I'm bashing anyone else. I hope they all find true love. You know what I'm saying? And get whatever it is they need. But I know for me, even I have felt at times like I'm not on the level that I'm supposed to be on.
Mhm.
And I look at I remember even my ex-husband would say, I really thought you'd be with a guy more like that. Who talks about this stuff when you're married? Like, this is not normal. But he would point out like the preppy dude who was college educated and well dressed. And that is exactly where Kara should be. I mean, it's not that nobody would, that's it. And I've had moments where I'm like, damn, did I miss my match? Because I was over here so long and now he's probably married to somebody else. And I have to I push through all of that. I don't dwell in
Mhm.
that, but back to what we are saying, because I don't want, this isn't all about dating. One of the things I've found is, while I don't regret the relationship because it gave me an incredible soft landing that I so needed, now I'm in this moment of, I have a whole week in front of me. What am I going to do with my time? And I feel like when you have spent most of your life focused on making everybody else around you happy, you don't even know what your hobbies are. You don't even know what you like. Oh, you think you might want to, paint a little, do a little sip and paint or whatever, but you have no idea. And so that's what I've been focused on. And you have to try things. And it may be something that you try and then you don't like, but that's how I got into the hiking. And I love it. I'm so shocked. It's for me, who's a person who never really liked exercise. Yeah, it's not an exercise thing. I love nature. I love walking an interesting trail and not knowing what's around the corner and there's some rock formation, and to go into this, this is such an important point I want to make here, and to find a tribe of people who are nerdy in the same way, it's unmatched. It's unmatched. And me and one of the guys, we were talking about this. I don't remember where I was yesterday. We were talking about this. Most of us, when we want to try something new, I don't care if it's sip and paint, hiking, um, learning. I don't know. I can't think of another example. Crafting. What do we do first? We call all our friends and we try to force the people that we already know to go with us to do these things. And that's fine if that's where you start. But there's nothing like being in a space with people and it's their shit too. Everybody
Mhm.
likes doing this thing.
Mhm.
Versus you're
Mhm.
sitting at the concert, Gladys Knight is performing her butt off, and the person sitting next to you don't even really like Gladys Knight. It
Mhm.
brings you down. So my advice to people is, yeah, you can try your friends. If it's an artist that you like going to jazz nights or whatever it is. Or you can just find a little club on, you can do a meetup, you can find groups on Facebook, find people who are already doing what you like and go be with them. Girl, now I'm going to a camp out, I'm renting an RV, like, and I'm just being in the energy with these people who are addicted to this just like me. It's just, there's no comparison. And what's really funny, Charlene, and then I'm going to stop talking, is that as I'm buying all this camping stuff, the ex husband was really big into all of this. He carried a bug out bag everywhere. He had supplies for all this stuff. I'm at Academy Outdoors yesterday picking out a gun. Okay, I'm getting a rose gold gun. I'm very excited about this. He was into all this stuff. And he would say, well, we could do camping, but you don't really like camping. And every time I would say, I like camping, I would go camping. I don't think he really believed me. And then one time I saw on his Instagram, I used to
I
block
was about to
everything.
say something that wasn't nice, but go ahead.
I
So
saw on his Instagram a campfire, and was camping out with the girlfriend, right? And
mhm.
so I wouldn't say I felt a twinge of jealousy, and that's honest. See, when you stay with somebody 20 plus years, you're dead inside when it's over. Like, so it's not
Mhm.
that. I think it was more like, wow, he did it. I always said I would go, and so I sat with that for a long time, and then it hit me the other day, especially since I've been involved with this camping hiking group. Cara, y'all didn't want to be alone together in nature.
Well,
You
so that's exactly what I was going to say. It's
didn't.
not that you didn't want to do it; you just didn't want to do it with him.
Well, and but I would have done it. I used to say to him, just plan it. But what I'm saying is, I realized when I saw that video, he didn't want to do that with you either. He could have done that. He didn't want to. This is, and this I could say some things about the sweetheart too, but I love him. I will never bash him in any way, shape, or form. But people do what they want, and they don't do what they don't want to do. So when you're out here dating, if you're
My
asking for
daughter
something
told me that about
repeatedly
me.
and somebody is not doing it, they don't want to.
Yeah.
And are you going to spend your energy like trying to force this other person to do things they don't want to do? You need to decide for yourself, is it a deal breaker or not that this person does not want to do this thing that I keep asking about? He would make me feel like he was incapable. The ex-husband, I'm just not good at that. I'm not good at planning. I'm not good at this. And that's probably true in some ways, but also people find time and energy for the things that they genuinely want. And
Oh,
so,
you know, my daughter told me,
yeah,
daughter told me, totally off subject. I'm gonna try to make it real brief. Every now and then I would do these sort of check-ins with my daughter, a parent-daughter check-in, where I would ask her, you know, as a parent, how am I doing parenting you? Are you getting what you feel like you need? And da 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 da. Da. And one time she said to me, she made this assessment of me. She said, "Mom, she was probably 15, 16, and she said, you only do what you want to do." She said, if you want to do something, you're 100%, 110% in it. But if you don't want to do it, you just do the bare minimum to get it done. And I was like, whoa, you are right.
somebody else said that about you, but we're not going there on this show.
But it was the truth. You know, it was the truth. And it just goes on. It just proves your point. People do what they want to do. They'll put the energy into what they want to do. And I had a point about, oh, so yeah, you were saying, you know, find a group of people that are interested in doing the things that you want to do. But here's another perspective. You can do it on your own. Go by yourself. Like, so I like me more than anybody else. And so if it's something that I want to do, and if I go do it, I know I'm going to have a good time because I like me and I like this thing that I'm going to do.
Mhm.
Why would it not be a good time? If you want to do it, and as a single woman, a single man, go do it. You
Some
want to
people
go
just
out.
can't, though. Some people just don't. And I mean, we can
So
teach
no,
them.
so for people who can do it. I want to encourage you to do it. And people who have never tried, just maybe try it. Take yourself I would take myself to back in the day, take myself to the movies. If there was a movie I wanted to see and nobody really wanted to see it, like I went and saw this movie. It was about Bobby Kennedy, and nobody really went out. I went by myself. Or
I love going to the movies solo.
I have taken myself out to dinner many a times. I've taken myself to concerts a few times. I posted it on Facebook years ago. I said, Charlena wanted to go see so and so. So Charlena asked Charlena on a date, and Charlena said yes. And so I got myself dressed up and I went out. I took pictures, put it on Facebook, and I had a great time. So I've gone to a play. I remember I went and took myself to see Fences years ago by myself. If you have a level of comfort with that, just step out there and try it. Don't be concerned about, oh, I don't have someone with me. It's about you and your enjoyment, you living your life, you experiencing something that you want to experience. Take a class on your own. Just it's okay to be by yourself and do things by yourself. There's such a freedom that comes from that. So I just
Yeah.
want to encourage anybody that's out there that's maybe reluctant, has not ever gone to a social event or a movie or a dinner by yourself. Just try it. And sometimes maybe go to a restaurant, sit at the bar, order your food at the bar. You might meet somebody and just have some great
I
conversation.
take up a whole table. I don't. The only time I sit at the bar is if it's crowded in there. Otherwise, no, I
Mhm,
want a table. I
mhm,
want a table. I want to sit. And I started doing that years ago, and it did take me a while to feel comfortable. So some people, if you only do it one time and you're like, oh, it
mhm,
wasn't for me, you ain't really try. You didn't
mhm,
really try. And then you need to ask yourself, why is it that I can't go and do this thing I really want to do that no one else wants to do?
mhm.
What? That's
Why
why
can't
I
I do
kept
it
that
by
on the
myself?
screen. That's why I kept that on the screen. Look at yourself and your behaviors with curiosity. Because if you can't sit here with yourself, how do you know you're good company for
Mhm,
somebody else
mhm.
to be and sit with? And I didn't know that I was on the introverted side and that I was more of a loner until
I
I
am.
started doing it. And then I found myself way more stressed when I would be with other people. Everything from gathering everyone, planning everything, sometimes feeling resentment if I was always the only planner, the only one initiating everybody getting together. It's just easier to get myself dressed and go do what I want, than it is to be with others. And the thing is, even on the hikes, I joined the group because obviously some things, for safety reasons, you have to consider doing it differently. But that's also why I'm getting the gun so that I can hike on my own and feel comfortable. And I'm gonna have some other protections, like I'm getting ready to get a great pocket knife that's easy for me to use, so that I can take that out and go on some trails near my house. The advantage of going with the group is I can put my headphones in and listen to my playlist. I may talk
Mhm.
for a little bit, but then I got my music going. When you're out by yourself, you shouldn't have anything in your ears because you need to be, more
Mhm.
aware of your
Mhm.
surroundings. But I love what you said, and that's been my thing for this year is getting outside, doing what I want. I did things like I went to a jewelry making class. That might have been towards the end of last year. Metalworks.
Mhm.
I enjoyed it. I don't know that I would get like super addicted because hobbies can
Mhm.
some hobbies can be
Very
expensive, like
expensive.
this camping hobby is. But this is something I will definitely stick with and experiment with, camping on my own. I was telling somebody yesterday, I don't know where, I was somewhere talking to a guy, but it wasn't like a close friend, that I need to try camping in my own backyard. I mean, it's right here. Y'all can't see it.
Yeah,
But I have
exactly.
two
You have a
acres.
great,
I have 2 acres. So this is
yeah.
the thing, Charlene. If I'm scared sleeping in my own backyard, I'm not ready to go to the regular woods yet. That for me would be a good test.
Mm.
Can I set my tent up and sleep outside in my own yard
Mhm.
and feel
Well,
comfortable?
first of all, do your research to find out what kind of critters. Uh, yeah,
You're in a tent. I wouldn't be a you're a city girl. So you're but you're this is the thing. We're gonna be when I'm going to the camp out at the end of the month, it's bear land, bear country. Okay. It's all
Mhm.
about having the right information. There's
Okay,
no
and that's
bears.
what I said. Get
Yeah,
the
there's nothing
information.
over
You need to.
here.
How do
My
you
No, there's nothing over here. There's deer. There's definitely snakes, like there
like
would be
no
here.
coyote or anything like that?
Not that's coming in your yeah, there's a risk for all of that, but
Okay,
you're
no, no, no.
going
I'm
to
not saying that it should be a deterrent. I'm
no.
just saying you just need to know. Like you've
Yeah,
never slept outside. You don't know
right.
what's linger around on
No,
your
I
property
think
at
there might
night.
be coyotes over here, but if what I'm
Okay,
saying
so
is if
just have the necessary whatever you need
yeah.
to protect yourself. Just yeah, just don't assume that there's nothing out there.
No, honey, I wouldn't.
Okay,
Again, I'm a country girl. Remember, I used to sleep outside as a child, staring
okay.
up at the stars at night. But what I'm saying is there's this stuff called bear spray that works for
Yeah.
all kinds of animals and things like
Hmm.
that. But
I've heard.
the main thing is they're not looking for you. And that's the problem with
Oh, they're
humans.
looking for food.
Yeah, they're not looking at humans. They're looking to avoid.
Yeah,
They're not they don't view humans
yeah.
as a
You're
meal.
right.
It's because we're coming for them. They're going to attack, and obviously, if we don't
Yeah,
have the right
you're
equipment, they're going to win. But
yeah.
with the bears, they're searching for food, and so we have a big supply list and everything. What's called a bear bag, and you
Mhm,
take it, you put any food. There can't be remnants of food anywhere. Like you can't have a snack wrapper, no crumbs. Their sense of smell is
mhm,
very strong. Everything goes in the bear bag, and you throw it up over a tree branch
mhm,
at night, so it's up high somewhere else, like away from where your tent is.
mhm.
And so everybody has to take that very seriously.
Mm,
Um,
I just learned something. So
yeah,
listen, I want to I want to pivot back,
yeah. Bring
so
us
we're
back on
talking,
track.
yeah, we're talking about basically just, living your best life and embracing singleness in for whatever reason. And one of the things that I focused on after I got divorced was really just trying to be the best me that I could be. So when I got married, I I went into my marriage. A significant factor of me getting married and marrying who I married came from a security need. So a security and a provision need. And so that caused me to choose a particular person. And I made a promise to myself that I was never going to be in a position where whoever I was going to be with, I was being with them because I needed them to provide something for me. I needed either, I needed some security or financial security, or I needed to be taken care of. And so it was very important to me to be financially secure and to really be significantly self-sufficient in pretty much every area of my life, so that the person that I would be attracted to, my attraction would come from them, from who they are as a person, and how do we connect as a man and a woman. It's not from a place of deficiency or need, but it's truly about the essence of who this person is and who I am, and how those two things mesh. And
Yeah.
so I would like to encourage, um, just do the work in all aspects of your life to be the best person that you can. And you're not being the best person that you can because, or in anticipation of this person, or because you are looking for the next person, but it's really about you being the best person you can be for you. Because when you're being the best person for you,
True.
you're able to live your best life. You live the most fulfilling life in being the best person that you can be for yourself.
No, I think that's so true because what I found is in the relationship that I was in after the marriage, I was really the damsel in distress,
Mhm,
and I really just wanted somebody to save me. I was
mhm,
so exhausted from the relationship that I'd been in that I wasn't really trying to fix myself. I wanted someone else who would come in and fix
mhm,
my life basically.
mhm,
And now I'm fixing my own life. And this is
mhm,
the first year I've just been totally awake. I've come out of the exhaustion. I now have energy that I did not have before. So it takes time, y'all. That was 2 years.
mhm,
2 years.
mhm,
Um, and it would not have been sped up if I hadn't been dating somebody. I think I would have been much worse off. That's just an opinion.
mhm,
Who knows? But he was such a great support and soft landing for me to have that resource after being so exhausted and doing so much on my own. He was a
mhm,
window into the type of relationship that I'm going to have when I'm ready, for something
mhm,
that's more permanent and compatible. I've just learned so much. And so now, to your point, I'm working on myself in a very intentional way because I want to attract a partner who exhibits certain characteristics and he deserves a certain version of me. And
mhm,
so and I also need to be grounded. That was the one issue I was having last fall when I was wrestling so much in that relationship. As you remember, I just didn't feel grounded. I was running more around in his schedule and when he was available, and I wasn't really building my own life. I was just kind of spinning to a degree. And
mhm,
I don't know what it's like. I woke up January 1st and everything has been different ever since then.
mhm,
I
mhm,
I go to bed at a decent time. I'm up earlier, except for today, daylight savings time. But I
mhm,
stepped in on purpose. I was like, I'm not carrying this I'm tired daylight savings time for all spring
mhm.
because I'm
Right.
excited about the more light in the evening to get out in that shed I mentioned earlier. But I'm grounded now. I need to have my own habits in place so that when I start dating again and somebody's asking me things, I say, oh no, I'm not available after 10 p.m. Or I'm up at this time, or I hike on Sundays, so I'm not free. I didn't have any of that before. It was like, oh,
Mhm,
you're free, I'm free. Oh, you're here, I'm here. And I've been doing that over my entire dating history, Charlene. It always is just like morphing myself in certain ways. Now will
accommodate,
you love
right.
me? Yeah, now will you love me? Now will you appreciate me? Now will you do these things for me because I'm doing all of this. And now I'm just doing Kara. And I'm going to
Mhm,
attract someone who loves the hell out of Kara, just the way that I am, because I will be
mhm,
a better version of myself than I've ever been. And let me be clear, y'all. It's not about achieving a certain weight. It's not about achieving a certain bank account. It's not about checking any specific box, but I do want to be healthy. I do want my finances to be more stable. My partner deserves someone who has a better credit score than I have right now. He deserves somebody who has a better handle on her debt. He deserves someone who's this is the point you made, Charlena. I want a supportive teammate, but I don't want him starting with me from ground zero.
mhm,
Nobody deserves that unless you're in your
mhm,
20s or 30s.
mhm.
Not enough people are doing this work. Let me say this, so to be quiet, because this guy was such a great example. Oh gosh, there's this guy in one. He's in one of the groups. I'll just say it. He's in the hiking group. I don't think they would never watch this. And he is asking the most simpleton questions. And I go to his profile and look, and he's got a gray beard. Like, he looks the same age as me. I just was floored. And I thought to myself, this is exactly what I'm not doing. Like, you want someone to take you in as an equal partner, but you're very childlike. Like, there's some judgment in what I'm saying. I'm going to acknowledge that. I am judging a bit. I don't know this person, but I want a man who's solving the problems, not a man who's coming in and you're asking like really ground zero questions when you didn't even read any information. It was just kind of a reminder for me of, at by a certain age, we should all, if you have not I don't know how to say this because everybody's at different levels, but basically there should be certain things that are representative of being in your 50s. Doesn't mean everybody's a homeowner, but there should be certain
Mhm.
things that are there.
Mhm.
And if it's not there, you're at an unfair advantage
Mhm.
to a partnership that you're in. You need to get your own self together before you go out here and looking for someone. Now, women can get away with this to a degree, right? Like this part here, we could talk about for a whole another hour. But I do think that women can get away with being dependent in certain ways, especially
Mhm.
if you meet other criteria that a lot of men are looking for. But
Mhm.
dudes, get some discipline. Be by yourself for a while. Get
Mhm.
your nest ready. And I explained it to my son this way once. I said the father needs to build the nest before he is ready for the woman and baby birds to come into this
Mhm.
nest. I said, son, what
Mhm.
do you think would happen if a mother puts a bird in this nest that the father built and the nest is not complete? And he said, the baby would fall through. I said, exactly.
Mhm. Mhm.
That's what's happening.
Excellent, excellent analogy. I'm glad that you are planting those seeds.
I need to
Excellent.
remind him of that. But yeah, that baby's going to fall through. My
Mhm.
children are on the ground right now because the nets. Oh, gosh. Yeah.
Well, and so okay, so that's for a man, but at the same time as a for a woman. So I'm going to say something that probably is not going to be very popular. I don't care.
We don't care what y'all think of us.
I don't care. As a woman, if you are going to have a child, you need to be in a position to take care of that child all on your own. All on your own. You should not be dependent upon child support from a man to take care of your child. That is not relinquishing him from his responsibility. But if you are going to have a child, grown ass shit is you being able to take care of your responsibilities. A lot of women will have children and cannot take care of that child unless they're getting that check. That child is 100% your responsibility. And it's 100% the father's responsibility. But don't be in a position where your child is not adequately cared for because you are dependent upon a check from somebody else. And
Listen,
let me pause and I'm gonna flip it. If you are a man, you should not be having any babies. You shouldn't be shooting your wad if you are not in a position to take care of a child 100%. I'm not just talking about writing a check. If that woman were to drop dead and you're responsible for this child, are you able to do that? No, no one should be having a child that they are not ready to take care of 100% without a partner.
well,
That is your duty.
and listen, that really is a spinoff because there's stuff underneath. Nobody gets pregnant. That's why it's called an unplanned pregnancy.
Mhm.
So there needs to be a whole nother conversation on why you're even in a situation where this is possible. So, and that's coming from a two-time solo parent
Mhm.
that I have been. I
And
did
don't
not.
get me wrong, it's not judgmental. It's
No, it's
just
not.
practical. It's
But
just practical. It's
what
just
I'm telling you
practical.
is, Charlena, people are making decisions without realizing they're making decisions, and that's why they're getting in these situations. Most people, I'll speak for myself. When I became, I don't like the term single parent, but when I was parenting solo, when I had my first child,
Mhm.
I you could not tell me we were not going to be together for life. So see, this is why I'm saying there's conversations that need to be had internally and externally when you even get in these situations that's not happening. And so I thought we were going to be together forever. Full stop.
Mhm.
I thought he was going to be the father of all my children. And I was so young that the only thing I would have told myself now is just focus on your education first and date him, but don't lose sight of your own goals, because
Mhm.
that's I started abandoning myself. Now I know from the age of 20 I was constantly abandoning myself because this relationship suddenly morphed and became more important than everything else in my life, and I ended up parenting on my own, and
Mhm.
everything changed, just like you hear in the movies. It's so weird because that was a 4-year relationship versus the long marriage after, but it had the biggest impact on my life. That that situation, 92 to 94, has had more impact on every other not great thing that's happened. And it wasn't until I went back to that root when I was doing my healing work in 2023, that's when I realized all of this is tied to that, because
Mhm.
I he talked me into the pregnancy and then abandoned me at 8 months, when I was 8 months pregnant. And I was a terrible 8 months pregnant. Like I was extremely bloated from high blood pressure, pregnancy induced
Mhm.
hypertension. I was unrecognizable. I'm surprised I even had more children after that, because that abandonment from someone who was like the love of your life, it crushed my entire soul. And so after that, I didn't feel like I was worth anything. It just led to a lot of the other things. So, but my point is, you do need to be in a position to take care of that child on your own, but also the child can motivate you to figure it out, because that's the reason why I built the whole career that I have now, is because I was like, I'm a mom, I have to be able to
Mhm.
do this. I
Mhm.
needed to prove I was still worth something, and that I
And
was.
yeah, and so let me just be clear. It's not like I started off that way. I was I said I got married from a place of need. So I was in no position. I really wasn't in a position to take care of a child. I don't think I really took on that mindset until after I was divorced and everything was riding on me. And I knew that um, if I wanted my child to have certain things or whatever, whatever. I mean, yeah, she had her dad in her life, and he provided some things, but in terms of the things that I wanted her, things that I may have wanted her to have, that was going to come from me. And if there was some sort of financial legacy that I wanted to leave, like it was going to come from me. And so it like you said, your child can cause you to move into that place, but if that maybe is another conversation to have another day, but um there's just it, there's so much that we as individuals need to do in our singleness to be whole on multiple levels of life that will make us better partners. um this will make our life, I guess, a lot easier for us, whether it's through parenting or whatever. There are a lot of areas in our life that we can work on in our singleness that will help to ensure a more successful future for us.
Yes, and I have a point that I had to write down that ties in with what you said. I feel like one of the greatest things you can do for yourself before dating or whatever is, first of all, know your own mentality. That's why I said be grounded. What do you believe in? What do you stand for? What are your values? What's your schedule like? Are you spontaneous? Are you more of a planner? Know yourself. Know yourself, because it's going to come out anyway. And you may not choose the right partner if you don't know yourself well. And the
Mm-hmm.
note that I made is learn
Yes.
the
Yes.
mentality of the person that you're dealing with because it likely won't change. For example, and
Mm-hmm.
I'm just going to blast it because I don't care. I have always been the solo financial provider for my children. I am now, and I was when I was a solo parent with my firstborn.
Mm-hmm.
I have had a tendency to deal with men who say, well, she's got it. She can do more. There's no male pride there that says, I want
Let
to
me do this. Yeah.
I
Let
want to
I'll do
show
it.
up in this way. And so, and what has hurt me the most about my son is that he has made the similar comment. Well, you've got it. You should do it. Like he doesn't want to ask his father for anything because
Mm-hmm.
he feels like I'm more financially well off. To the point, Charlene, where I've been thinking
I
about
know.
showing him my bills, showing him the dollar amounts that are being spent out because I don't know how else to confront that mentality. But if you're dealing with a man who has that mentality and doesn't take pride in any sort of in a provider mindset, like in the truest sense, he may talk it, but is he really sacrificing and doing those things? Know that it's unlikely to change. And the flip side of that is if he has those good traits, it's unlikely to change. Like strongly believes that a man should provide and do certain things. And that's what I got from the sweetheart. That's what was so healing for me in that situation is he
Mm-hmm.
told me from the beginning, anything above McDonald's is my money being spent. I'm
Mm-hmm.
not doing anything on your dime. This if it's
Mm-hmm.
basically if it's over $20, no, and just a lot of things that I used to try to fight for in the marriage, he did automatically. You will not touch that door. Yes, I'm picking up this whole check. Do you want anything else on this menu? I had never experienced any of those things. And so it was very healing for me. And it's a mentality. So if you're going to date, this is we said we're gonna have a show episode on how soon do you have sex with somebody or whatever, right? And that's something we can fully explore. I would say for me, I need to know your mentality. And I'm not going to do it in a direct way. I'm not going to ask you direct questions. First of all, if you just let them talk, shut up. Stop talking about yourself. I wish women would stop even saying, you didn't ask me anything about myself because you're so ready to talk about yourself. Why? Don't share. Don't be so open to sharing of yourself. Cara, this is what I learned. When I was dating him, and this is mostly because I didn't have my voice, but it still worked out in my favor. I used to just listen to him talk.
Mm-hmm.
He would just talk himself into a circle, and he told me more than he realized. And those were also the same things that helped me make the decision to end the
Mm-hmm.
dating relationship. They tell you about themselves,
Mm-hmm.
and especially the more selfish, toxic guys. Just listen to them talk before
Mm-hmm.
your heart gets involved. And you can find this out in two dates. You don't need to you don't really need to ask them a lot of questions. You don't need to do a ton of talking and be very mindful of the questions you ask. I may even put a list together, Charlena, and have an episode where I would say these are some things that I would say and ask and do. And some of it could be things like, who do you admire? So what type of
Mm-hmm.
people do you admire? You know? Well, first of all, if he says Kevin Samuels, the date's over. The
Yeah.
date is
I
over.
know. Done, done, and stick a
Done,
fork in it.
it's
Done.
done. It's done. Okay. That is, and I actually did with my online dating. I met a guy who was like, I've learned so much from Kevin Samuels. I changed the way I dress and everything. I was like, mm-mm. To the flip side of that is the sweetheart. He brought Kevin Samuels up before me and was like, I know him. He's my friend and whatever. And I went off on him. I think he's terrible. Now you scored a point.
Mm-hmm.
So I wouldn't ask though a guy directly about Kevin Samuels. It's too polarizing. It's
Yeah.
going to out me and him. But there are
Yeah.
ways that you can find out without saying things like, "What happened in your last relationship? And why did you guys break up?" or whatever. But just listen to him talk.
Mhm.
Learn what he prioritizes. What does he idolize? Do you read anything? And what do you just? There's just different ways
Mhm.
to go about it to make sure you
Mhm.
get the actual truth. But he needs to feel comfortable enough to tell you the truth and not feel
Right.
like
You don't want it to come
if it
off as
comes out
if
the
you're
wrong
in
way, he may
that
give you
you're
the
interrogating. You're really having conversation, but it's actually the course of the conversation is very, very revealing.
Yeah,
from the
but
way you're
not
feeling.
just that you don't want to come across interrogating. You want to get the truth. And
Mhm. Well, right. If he feels
he's trying
interrogated,
to get and he's
yeah.
trying to get the panties. So
Mhm.
he doesn't want to say anything to you that could take
That
that
jeopardize.
potential away. And
Yeah.
so you got to make it seem like you don't have an opinion or there's no penalty for this so that you can get
Mhm.
the truth
Mhm.
of who he is as
Mhm.
a person. What does
Mhm.
he value? How does he spend his free time? But women are asking the wrong questions. You want to know how much money he makes and what kind of work he does and things like that when you really need to be investigating his character. You'd be
Mhm.
investigating his character. How does he feel about, traditional gender roles and things like that? And first of all, if he asks you what you're looking for, baby, don't you be specific. Don't give him something that he can pretend to be and suck the next 90 days of your life away. Don't be
Mhm.
specific because if he's a true gamer, he's going to thank you for those notes and he's going to use
Mhm.
them. And when you see him next time, your favorite song's going to be playing on the radio. He's going to have made the meal that you said you like and you're
Yeah.
going to think that's amazing, but you don't know enough about his character yet to know if
Mhm.
those actions are true.
Mhm.
And let me finalize that with this little bullet point. One of my best college friends was a stone cold player. I could do a whole episode just on him. Mike. That's a generic enough name, and that is his real name. And he taught me so much about the game. He told me that he would find out what her favorite song was and have it playing for her when she came over. And he was on the school basketball team, but he never would tell women that up front because he told me, he said, when they see my picture on the poster, they tell their friends, he's so humble. He didn't even tell me he was on the team. And he was a stone cold hoe, never faithful, cheated on his girlfriend relentlessly. She was drop dead gorgeous, and it broke my heart. I would go over to their place sometimes, and one time, Charlena, she was giving him a pedicure. She was doing his toes, and I was like, "This thing is so dirty." And don't know it. And he told me, he was like, "Cara, I don't even love her. I'm cheating on her with women who are not attractive at all." He said, "But she's just so
Good
beautiful.
for
Every
him.
time I look at her, I can't break it off." And that's why I've
Mhm.
never desired to be one of those gorgeous women. And that's why you see them and they're single because every man wants them. So it's so much harder for them to define who wants me for
For
me
me.
and not because I'm beautiful or I have this dope body or whatever. When you're a clean average, you're like, "Oh, I know, I know you're more likely to be here for me." No, I'm teasing. But anyway, I learned a lot. And you can learn a lot from having a male friend who's deep in the game when you're younger. When you're older, hopefully you don't need to play these types of games. When you're younger, it can be very handy to have
Mhm.
a guy who's very schooled because he will show you what to do and what to avoid. And Mike made me treacherous for a minute. Like I went through a year of treachery after that. I was nothing to be played with for a little while because I had to break the friendship off with him eventually though, like years later, because he was reinforcing a lot of toxic beliefs about men, and I
Mhm.
didn't want to view men that way anymore.
Yeah,
It's like no
yeah,
man's ever going to
yeah,
be faithful. Men
yeah.
aren't monogamous by
But
nature.
men who say that are men who are not faithful. To
You're
me, that's
talking
a
about
red flag.
yourself,
They're
and so
talking about
because you can't
themselves,
do it, you think
right?
nobody else is doing it either.
That's he is. If a man tells you that, that is a huge red flag. He is talking about himself. He is telling you that he can't be faithful, and
Well,
he.
they're always talking about themselves. That you know what? You're leading us to a good question. If you ask them about men, whatever they feel about
Mhm,
men, they're talking about
mhm,
themselves.
mhm,
It's the age old, if they think certain men are simps, men who really take great care of their women. The men who don't do that at all call those men simps because they
mhm.
ain't trying to do all that.
Right, they can't do it.
Like, yeah,
Yep.
they can't do it, and they think the men who are doing it are, you're a
Mhm,
simpleton, or whatever.
mhm.
I don't know. All right, I'm ready to land this plane.
Woo! Woo!
I'm gonna
There we
pull a
go.
love yourself card today. I'm gonna pull a love yourself card today. Listen, I'm loving myself more every day, and I think that once you get past the fear, singleness does bring with it a certain fear because at the end of the day, most people, even women who say, "I'm fine by myself, I'm protecting my peace," they would prefer to have a partner, right? A lot of women would. But there's something to
So
be
this is the thing. When I was single, when I was single, I enjoyed my singleness. I think I made the most out of it. I really do. But yes, there were times where you do want companionship. You do want that person that you can call and they're there for you, or you want to do something together. You want that. So yeah, both can exist at the same time,
Yeah,
living a life of full singleness and at the same time desiring companionship.
yeah. And I don't, for me, I love that I love being by myself because it lets me know that it confirms for me I don't need to settle. What I had to get past was the fear of my FOMO, which goes over everything, fear of missing out,
Mm-hmm.
giving too many chances because I'm afraid I'm going to miss out on something. Oh, what if it was good? Or what if it was that kind of getting caught up in a fantasy? Not it was never a fear of it's a weird thing that I had. That's why it's so important, like I said, to observe yourself with curiosity. It wasn't a fear of being forever alone because I've always been in relationships. I know how to attract a man. No one's ever even broken up with me, which I used to think was a compliment until I realized it's because I was easy in a way. I was too easy. And my daddy always said a man never leaves his fool. And so what I was touting as a compliment, no one's ever left me. Why would they leave me? I made life very comfortable for them.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a
Mm-hmm.
great partner. I'm just partnering with the wrong people.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yep.
a man leaving me actually would be a credit. It would show that maybe I had a standard and a boundary
Mm-hmm.
for a change. And he's
Mm-hmm.
like, I'm not dealing with that. I don't know.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
But now I'm
Definitely.
so comfortable by myself that I would only seek someone who's actually adding to my joy and my peace and all of that. Um, and that is for next year. Okay, let me see. Get a card here that is going to. Mhm. I am centered in truth and peace. Um, Okay, this one. So I don't believe in the universe concept. I'm trying to figure out how to reword this, but I'm going to read it as is. The universe is one of great order and peacefulness, which is true. The galaxy, the universe. I don't believe the universe has spiritual power. I believe it's a creation of God. But it says on this side, the universe is one of great order and peacefulness, and I reflect this in every moment of my life. And this is a truthful statement because there it takes a tremendous amount of order for the galaxy to exist as it does. If one planet, I'm nerdy about this, Charlena, but if one planet was too close to the other, massive,
Mm-hmm.
terrible things would happen. If the
Mm-hmm.
sun was any closer than it is,
Would either
we would
sizzle and burn
we would burn,
or we freeze to death.
or we
So,
would freeze to death if it was further
mhm,
away. And so there's a perfection to the order
mm,
of the entire atmospheric structure that we're in, and I can choose to reflect that in my own life and choose to be centered in truth and peace. I actually love this card because peace is something that we have to invite, create, cultivate. It's not just going to happen, and it shouldn't happen in an ugly way like I'm protecting my peace by cutting all these people off.
mhm,
There's going to be a part of you, if you do it wrong, that's still wrestling, and so you're not really in true peace when all the time when you say I'm protecting my peace. Sometimes it requires two words you love to use: hard conversations to get that peace, and then also a settling in yourself when you've done all you can in a situation and you have to create your own peace,
mhm,
which can be difficult. I've had to do that with the ex-husband, with one of my children. It has been very hard. But you that even in and of itself, I'm layering a lot in here, but that even in and of itself, creating that peace can require you to maybe have a small period of mourning that it's not going like you wish it was. Oh, if only it could be just a little bit different. It's not like that. Observe what it is. Ask yourself, is there anything more that I could have done here and not abandon myself or further create a
mhm.
pattern of codependency, whatever that thing is, and then release that and be
Let
it.
it go. Let it go.
let it
Be-
go and be at peace.
mhm.
And listen, I couldn't do the Wednesday night thing this past week because
And
I
let
had
me just say this, when you let
a
it
meeting.
go, be
Yeah.
at peace with the fact that you let it go and don't allow anyone else to influence you into taking a different path, or oh, you shouldn't do this or you shouldn't do that. Once you've processed it and you've decided I need to let this go, just let it go. Let it go
Yeah.
and be okay. Be firm in that decision and confident in it.
Yes. I think I'm trying to see. Okay, I'm not going to be able to find it, but there was a meme I saw or something I read. Oh, it was. I think we already talked about another episode. It was in my devotional book. Basically, be at peace with how you made the point. Be it. At some point, we have to get to a place in our lives where we're at peace with the decisions that we've made, even if they weren't the right decisions. You still have to make peace with it. You can't just keep going round and round and round about something that you can't change. That's where a lot of anxiety comes from in here. Is that you're going back and forth and back
Anxiety,
and forth.
guilt comes from
Yeah,
that place as
anxiety,
well.
guilt, you can't change any of
Mhm.
that. How long are you going to hold on to that? And I'm this is a great place for us to end. I'm glad I pulled this card because as we do this closing breath work, there are things that we may be dealing with and still mire down in certain regrets, and you just have to let it go. Like how you're in this present moment, you have breath in your body, you don't know how many days you have in front of you. What good does it do to keep spinning over something that you absolutely cannot change? Maybe you need to journal it. Maybe you need to, when you finish watching this, go and write the story down about what happened and burn that shit, man. Burn it,
Mhm.
put it into the fire, and every time it comes up again, write it down again. Maybe you need to write it down multiple times. I had to release my marriage a million times in the past 2 years. Every time I would do it, I'd be like, this is the last time. He did this and he did that. And I wrote those things down. I burned it. I had to do it multiple times. So it's not going to be a one hit wonder. And then you need to reprogram yourselves with new information. New things need to come in to push the story, not just press it down, but get it out. And some people spend years just pressing it down. You're not really clearing it out. And so do what it takes to get centered in truth and peace. And you can't get peace without truth. Girl, this card is a whole sermon. But you're not going to get to peace with the lies about what you did or didn't do and what the other person did or didn't do. And be honest with yourself. And I know we're over time, but I'll just add that you know, one of my children is really upset at me, and it was not as hard as it used to be, but just challenging dealing with her version of how she was parented. And there are some parts of it that are true, but I also can't change it. It's over. And so I feel like at times, she wants to punish me for it, even though I've apologized profusely. I had to make my own choice to look at the truth of what she said, to forgive
Mhm.
myself again. I apologized to her again, and I created my own peace that way. But it's because I've done a similar practice in so many other areas so many times that now this I can release things like that, y'all. So when you first start doing any kind of release work, which I am going to do a Wednesday session on, I'm going to put it on my calendar and everything, on how to start releasing things and moving them through and out of your body and mind. um, Initially you may have to do things repeatedly. It may take a long time. You may feel frustrated, but you can get to a place where now I have one little conversation and I'm 5 minutes later I'm on something else. I've just released it and let it go. You're not gonna hold me hostage anymore. When I say you, I mean like my own mind, the guilt, the shame.
Mhm.
I'm no good to anyone, and you are no good. You're dragging down lots of people like I used to, carrying all that around, ruminating over the same conversations over and over again. The story that, like I heard T Pain say, what happened was 5 minutes long. You just talked about it all day.
Mhm.
It was a one day incident, but you talked about it all year long. So you are continuously reminding
We've got to
yourselves
process
of
it.
this
We've got to
negative experience, and
process.
it's staying in here. You're not pushing it out and away.
Hmm.
And I can now look at my whole divorce story, but it's not in here anymore. Oh,
Hmm.
I don't know how to explain this with any more power. But the divorce story used to be in here. So I would tell it, be crying and everything. Now my divorce story is out here. It's out here. I look at it, I observe it with curiosity. I see myself, I see the memories, but it's not affecting me internally anymore. And it took
Hmm.
me a long time to get there, but I'm grateful. So chase your peace. Just chase it.
Yes, ma'am.
So good. I'm going to keep this card out for a while, and I may use this for Wednesday night. That was good. Any closing comments? Thank you to those of you who are watching. Feel free to say hi as we close.
No closing comments. Thank you for sharing.
Okay, good. All right. So listen, today we are actually going to do 3 full breaths. We've been doing just one, but one is not really ideal. It's just because this is not like a breath work thing here. But we're going to do 3 breaths. 4, inhale for 4, hold for 4, exhale for 4. And I want you to keep this thought in your mind. When your mind starts to wander, I am centered in truth and peace. And right now, just take your time to kind of slow your mind down. Make sure you're sitting upright. The proper way to do it, honestly, is to push your butt back. So you're sitting on what's called your sit bone, because when you do that, your spine is automatically more erect. You want your spine to be erect so that the breath can flow through. And I really want you to think about those words. I am centered in truth and peace. And while we're doing the breath work, you can repeat that to yourself. And you don't have to speak it out loud. You can speak it out loud if you want to, in between the breaths. But as we go into the first breath, that's what I want your thoughts to be about. Remove all distractions. No one needs anything from you. This is your time right now. This moment is for you. So we're settling in. I am centered in truth and peace. And let's get ready for our first inhale through the nose. Again, we're holding, inhaling for 4, hold for 4, and then release. Relax your belly, relax your tongue all the way down to your feet. Any tension, relax your shoulders so that you're focusing on being centered in truth and peace. And we're inhaling. 1, 2, 3, 4. Hold. 2, 3, 4, and exhale through your mouth. And just relax. Just relax. Now, if you want to take this to the next level and do this on your own, what you can do is think of the statement, I am centered in truth and peace, and write down on a scale of 1 to 10 how much you actually feel that. 0 being, I don't feel this at all. This means absolutely nothing to me. And 10 being, I am 100% centered in truth and peace. You can write that down before you begin. And then you can ask yourself the question again after 3 rounds of breath work and see if you're any closer to a 10. So we're going to do this second round, and I'm going to prompt you to inhale, and then I'm going to do the breath with you. In for 4, hold for 4, and release. And we're inhaling. Exhale and just relax. I am centered in truth and peace. All right, and we're going to go for our last breath. I am centered in truth and peace. Inhale and exhale. Just relax. Feel free to notice how you feel. Don't rush yourself. And feel free to open your eyelids and come back. Oh, let me tell you, Charlena, I feel so much better than I did at the beginning of this episode. I don't even know why I'm emotional, so don't call me and ask me, am I okay? I just am much more in touch with my emotions after so much healing work the past 2 years, so I don't block it. I feel like
Mhm.
sometimes tears come and we don't know why. There could be something internal that wants that release.
Mhm.
So I don't try to judge myself for it anymore or anything like that, but I definitely feel centered in truth and peace. And sometimes when you're centered in truth, it doesn't always feel good right away, but it still is the truth for you. And so I'm so thankful for that. I want to give my cousin a shout out here, Larisi. Thank you so
Hey,
much.
Reese. Hi.
For you. I don't know. I don't know my own cousin's age. Okay. I don't know. I know she's a lot younger than us. And we do have a strong passion for younger women, especially I would say like 30 to 40 ish. We have a strong passion to reach more women in that age range and don't feel like I don't think there's enough representation of older women really speaking to the younger women from a mature perspective. I'm not seeing a lot of it. There's a lot of relationship stuff going on from super young, from younger people to other younger people. Yeah, she's 45. You're a youngster to us. We're a little less than 10 years apart. But yeah, her mother is my first cousin. I'm pretty sure that's what it is. We're second cousins. I know that for sure. Um, so thank you so much for coming today. For those who watched, and feel free to share the episode. I want to thank you, Charlena, for being here with me and show us your jersey as we go because I saw you're doing something. She's shouting out her hometown.
So, for anyone out there who loves basketball, I am a Los Angeles Laker fan. Last night we played our longtime rivals, the Boston Celtics. So I actually wore this at the game, well, here at home watching the game. Unfortunately, we lost, but so I'm in a little bit of mourning right now, but I'm still, giving love and support to my team. So, yeah.
Good stuff. All right. Well, thank y'all so much for joining. I have to make a call, Charlena, so I'm not available. I'll see you at 1:30 for wedding planning.
Okay.
Not my wedding, not her wedding, her
Yay.
daughter's
My
wedding. Let's
daughter.
be clear. Bye,
Okay.
everyone.
Bye, everyone.